Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to The Account, bringing you the news update for day 314 of the war in Ukraine. Today was a rather quiet day, and there are only some minor news to report on. We will go over them quickly in the usual news segment, divided into the situation inside Ukraine, the occupied territories, and the international developments. But first, as usual, the flashpoints along the front. Kreminna. Locals report small arms fire is audible in the city. No further information or context was given. The head of Luhansk Oblast, Serhiy Haidai, stated that the Svatove Kreminna highway is now under Ukrainian fire control. Meanwhile, the spokesman of the Eastern Group of Forces, Serhiy Cherevati, said Russia is sending additional forces to the area. Bakhmut. Russia continues to launch attacks in and around Bakhmut. Currently, it seems that Ukrainian forces are holding the line and Russia is making minor gains around Solidar. Velykyi Zaluzhny, the commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, said about Bakhmut. The situation in the Solidar-Bakhmut-Mayorsk area remains the most complicated. The Russians are basically trying to advance by marching over the corpses of their fellow soldiers there, but the defense forces of Ukraine are making tremendous efforts to hold back the offensive. Kherson River. Ukrainian strikes reported on Velykyi Kopani, Kostorizove, and Hola Pristan. Footage of the battles on Potomkin Island, marked with a cross, was shared on social media. After yesterday's announcement of the liberation of the Velykyi Potomkin Island, Natalia Humenyuk, head of the United Press Center of the Operational Command South, stated that raising the flag on the island simply sent a message to the enemy, reminding them it is Ukrainian land. It is too early to talk about liberation. And now starting the news segment with the situation inside Ukraine. Authorities have discovered another torture chamber located in Oleksandrivka, Mykolaiv Oblast. Victims were tasered, choked with plastic bags, and beaten with heavy objects. The police secured tools used during torture and talked to victims who were tortured for a month. In Kherson, on the premises of the regional police department, police found another torture chamber used by the Russian occupiers. President Zelensky held another Supreme Commander-in-Chief meeting. He heard about the operational situation on the main front lines from Velykyi Zaluzhny, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and Russia's probable actions in the near future, reported by Kirill Budanov, head of Ukraine's defense intelligence. Yuri Inat, spokesman for the Ukrainian Air Force, explained why some Shahed drones are not intercepted. Russian forces often launch the UAVs at night and send them along the Dnipro River, making it harder for radar to detect and track them. When asked if citizens could help, he explained that since drones fly at night, often Ukrainians identify them by sound. However, since they move fast and reports come in delayed, they are already in another place by the time local air defense is alerted. Nonetheless, Ukraine's air defense has shot down almost 500 enemy drones since September 2022. During the early morning, Russia attacked Kramatorsk with missiles. Several residential buildings were damaged and emergency power outages have been implemented. One civilian was wounded. A French news team filmed the strike.
De notre équipe, donc ce qu'a vécu Paul, quand donc j'avais pas vu l'image.
Moving on, the latest from the occupied territories. According to the main intelligence directorate of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, Russia has ground, air, and sea-based carriers of nuclear weapons deployed in occupied Crimea. Russia also continues work at the Fedosia 13 facility in the village of Krasnokamyanka in preparation for a nuclear weapon storage. When asked about risk of nuclear strike, spokesman Andriy Chernyak said, "It is possible because Russia is capable of anything." The National Resistance Center reports that Russian authorities in occupied territories are planning mass mobilizations among the population. Allegedly, everyone with a Russian passport will be enlisted, as Russia will not make any exceptions for the new regions of the Russian Federation. Russia suffered another major loss of soldiers. The General Staff of Ukraine reported 500 occupiers dead and wounded. After the strike on Makivka, the Ukrainian military confirmed another strike on a Russian personnel concentration near the village of Chulanivka in Kherson Oblast. Another major strike was reported in Svatove. According to available information, Russia had been transporting ammunition to a warehouse for the past 2 weeks before Ukrainian forces destroyed it. According to Ivan Fedorov, the mayor of Melitopol, Russian doctors allegedly have begun evacuating from the city. According to resistance activists from Mariupol, Russia is moving a large amount of fortifications to Berdiansk, while ammunition is being sent to Donetsk. And wrapping up the news segment, the international developments. According to the latest assessment by the Institute for the Study of War, the air and missile strikes against Ukraine are likely not having the Kremlin's desired effect. Russian military bloggers argue that the Russian military would have had to conduct these kind of attacks earlier in the war, and those would have needed immediate follow-up strikes for maximum damage. Furthermore, Russian President Vladimir Putin's New Year's speech was met with criticism. Coupled with the cancellation of public appearances, ordinary citizens might suggest Putin is out of touch. The main intelligence directorate of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense reports that Russia has no plans to end the war and will continue offensive operations. According to the report, Russia most likely will try to hold the land corridor to Crimea and focus on capturing the entire Donbas. Furthermore, Russia is expected to lose up to 70,000 soldiers in the next 4 to 5 months. The Defense Ministry's Intelligence Directorate spokesman Andriy Cherniak said that it would be impossible for Russia to cross the Dnipro River in an attempt to recapture Kherson. He added Russia most likely will try a renewed attack from either the north or the east, and Ukrainian forces are prepared for either. And now the intelligence reports, starting with a daily update by the UK Ministry of Defense. In mid-December, Russian military and Wagner proxy forces likely increased the frequency of the infantry assault around the Donetsk Oblast town of Bakhmut. However, many of those operations were poorly supported. Over the last 10 days, Ukraine has committed significant reinforcements to defend the sector, and the frequency of Russian assaults have likely reduced from the peak in mid-December. Both sides have suffered high casualties. Russian offensive operations in the area are now likely being conducted at only platoon or section level. It is unlikely Russia will achieve a significant breakthrough near Bakhmut in the coming weeks. And to finish the report, the evening update by the General Staff of Ukraine. The Russian occupiers continue to wage full-scale armed aggression against our state. The enemy does not give up its plans to enter the administrative border of Donetsk region. The main efforts are focused on maintaining offensive potential and replenishing losses. In order to exert pressure on the population of our country, the enemy carries out air and missile strikes, as well as carries out artillery shelling of critical infrastructure and population centers on the territory of Ukraine, violating the norms of international humanitarian law, laws, and customs of warfare. The enemy, trying to take full control of the territories of Donetsk and Luhansk regions, is concentrating its efforts on conducting offensive actions in the Bakhmut area. The Russian occupiers are trying to improve the tactical position in the Liman and Avdiivka directions. They are strengthening the groups in the Novopavlivka direction at the expense of units transferred from the Kherson direction. And with that, another report is finished. If you're interested in any of the articles I mentioned, you can find links to them in the description as always. Thank you for tuning in and have a great day. You were listening to The Account. Slava Ukraini.